Yeah, well, that shit ain't gonna happen. I find it hilarious when people always say that. Back in the day. Yeah, there's some things that were better back in the day, but I'm gonna tell you right now, things have never been better than they are right now. Okay? I mean, like when I was a kid, if you wanted to do a research paper, you had to go to a library, you had to look up a whole bunch of shit. Now, if you want to find something out, you can you can look shit up. It's never been better. It's never been easier to do a research paper. It's never been easier to do all this shit. It's great. I love it. But with that being said, I'm joined by my tribunal, my panel, the usual suspects. We'll let the lady go first, and then we'll dive into it. Yeah, yeah, we're doing a little bit of everything. It's a very eclectic fun cast today. Um, Pinky. All right. Were these homemade tortellinis, or did you get them from someplace? That's nice. All right then, and of course it's me. Oh shit, we're joined by Kenoshi. Go ahead, Kenoshi. Go. Yeah, yeah, and doesn't up like grab you by the cockles of your heart in the first 5 minutes. You're like, damn. Uh, yeah, like in the first 5 minutes of Up, you're about to bust out crying for that man and his wife. You're like, oh god, oh the feels, oh. All right. So with that being said, I guess we can get into the eclectic mix of today's podcast. So tonight's podcast is all about the rumors that have been coming out and how we bring back certain genre of games, all that type of fun stuff. Um, and also, this is a little bit of a random BS Buster cast, but whatever. So I guess we can begin with well, this is just some news that I thought was interesting. Vice City is being remastered and brought to GTA 5. Not the game itself, but the location of Vice City, which is basically Miami, the Miami Strip in that universe. Yeah, it's just the map, which kind of sucks because Vice City, like the thing about the sixth gen GTA like duology of spin-off games, Vice City and San Andreas, is that those games had a lot of character. The characters had a lot of character. Like there's a lot of memorable characters in those games. Like GTA 3 doesn't really have a memorable main character because the main character is a dude who doesn't say anything. I think his name's Claude. That's his default name. But people remember Tony Versetti and CJ from San Andreas. People remember the side characters, Big Smoke and Sweet and Puff, not Puff, Ryder and OG Loke, you know, Kent Paul. Like people remember these characters who played those games. It's really hard to be memorable for shit to be memorable in other GTA games. Damn near impossible. Um, which is kind of sad because if you like GTA, you know, like GTA's kind of gone down a little bit as of late. It's not as good as it used to be, sadly, but you know. GTA San Andreas. But that's just me. So, unfortunately, it's only on PC. Well, not unfortunately, it's, you know, yeah, if you have a PC, you're good. If you don't have a PC, well, you're SOL. Yeah, yeah, you're SOL. Yes. One of the reasons why, in my opinion, the PC is one of those ultimate gaming platforms um, is because you can do stuff like that on PC. Well, no, no, I mean, that's one of the cool things about PC. Like, it's harder to mod a console game. Like, I mean, you can do it. It's just harder to do. And there's some cool shit they've done on home consoles. There's some cool shit they've modded on home consoles, like how they've taken Link out of Breath of the Wild and added new characters into it. It's kind of interesting. I wouldn't do it, but yeah. Eh, I mean, I mean, some N64 mods are interesting, some are not. It's one of those things. But it is what it is. So, I mean, like when it comes to exclusives, consoles are always going to be better than PC because there's no exclusives on PC. Well, there are, but most of them are like you know not exclusives that people really give a shit about. Whereas a console exclusive is gonna push the hardware and do things that you normally wouldn't see them do. Unless you're talking about Sony's exclusives, which are just interactive movies. So, if you like interactive movies, there you go. Uh, I don't like interactive movies. Another little bit of news. Google Stadia continues to shit itself, to no one's surprise. Yeah, like Google Stadia is just like I guarantee you that unless something substantially yeah, if Google Stadia doesn't substantially change itself in the next, I want to say 3 to 6 months, it'll be gone by next year. Like you will not like Google's gonna be like, yeah, we're pulling the plug. No, I get it 3 to 6 months. Okay. No, I give it 3 to 6 months because even the Ouya, another failed uh, console experiment, it was another failed console experiment. Um, Even that got a good 2 3 years. Um, but Google has a lot of money. But I think at a certain point they're just gonna be like, yeah, we're done. I think they're gonna be like, yeah, we're done. We're done. We gotta pull the plug on this. Not because it's losing too much money, although it probably is, but because Google Stadia has proven that it just has no reason to exist. Like, it's not really doing anything to really make things better or anything, for lack of a better word. Your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, I know that Jewel is ecstatic with joy that they failed. Um, Well, I mean, I'm not happy that Stadia failed because the idea behind Stadia of you basically being able to play your games anywhere that has a good internet connection, that's actually pretty good. The problem is that the execution was crap. But I mean, that's the thing. Like everything, you can have a good idea, but if your execution is shit, it doesn't matter. Well, I mean, eh, I really wouldn't brag on that because if a game is very server dependent, even if you own the game, you're not going to be able to play it once the servers are pulled. Like, Splatoon, I love Splatoon 1 and 2, but once the servers are pulled, you pretty much are SOL. Well, the one, well, no, because the first Splatoon also supported local area network play as well. So that is kind of no. See, okay, both games support local area network play. So if you have a LAN adapter, you can basically hook it into your computer and spoof a server and basically have a four-on-floor match. If you have enough Wii U's hooked up to the local area network server, you can do that because it's LAN. It supports LAN support. You can do that in like Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. It's a core feature. They put them in both games. I know because I've played tournaments that have done that since then, even after they pulled the servers for that game, and you can do that. So anyway, yeah, Splatoon. I mean, but here's the thing: local area network play used to be a huge thing in gaming. It's not so much anymore. You very rarely see it. It's a very rare thing. It's like a unicorn. Like military intelligence. It's a hard thing to find. Um, well, yeah, I mean, and there are also single player games that have some type of online DRM that just makes them like, for example, one of my favorite games of the seventh gen was, well, it was a cross gen game. It was on the sixth and seventh gen. Was Mercenaries 2. Now, Mercenaries 2 is a game that was made by LucasArts. It's a game where you play as these mercenaries who go around murdering the shit out of parodies of certain countries that we don't like in America all that much. Um, and it's kind of a fun little game, but unfortunately, it was published by EA, and how can I put this nicely? EA put some, yeah, they put some DRM, on it. So basically, if it like in order for you to play the game, you have to not enable your online connection because it'll try to connect to servers that no longer exist and the game will crash. But you can, yeah, but you can still, I mean, yeah, but they eventually patched that out. This was never patched out of Mercenaries 2, so you're just basically SOL. Which kind of sucks, but what are you gonna do? It's um, or that Spore game, that Dark Spore game that like if you bought a physical disc for. Well, the first Spore, you can still play that game offline, although the DRM does make certain parts of the game unplayable. But like there is like a Game of the Year edition where you can play the game just fine, like the single player. But Dark Spore, which is the weird spin-off that was made after Will Wright left that company, Dark Spore was DRM'd out the ass, and so basically the servers were pulled. So if you want to play that game, before you can play the game, it checks a server that doesn't even exist, so you can't even play the game. It just crashes. Um, that's the future of gaming, folks. You're gonna see more of this shit. That's the thing. Darkspore is a single player game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sadly, this is the case, folks. This is where we're going with gaming. But anyway, back to Google. Yeah, Google's fucked. I mean, not the company itself. Stadia's fucked. Stadia is. Eh, I mean, people are gonna get fired. I'm not exactly happy about that. But I mean, that like this is proof positive that you shouldn't just push shit out the door before it's ready. You know, like you know, you shouldn't take something out the oven until it's finished cooking. You know, I don't care who you are. So what are you gonna do? I mean, like I said, it's like GameStop. Like I don't like GameStop at all. Like I hate them with a passion. But I'm not happy to see them go out of business. Especially as slow and glacial as it's been, because basically, like, I don't want to see people lose their jobs. You know? Oh yeah, GameStop deserves to go out of business. The fucked up shit they do, pushing memberships on people and getting people to buy shit they don't need. Nickel and diming people, getting your pre-order money and then basically not canceling your pre-order but holding on to the money and then cashing it out into gift cards and then sending it to headquarters where they take that money, trading in your phones like that are worth like because I've seen this. I've literally gone back in the day when I used to go to GameStop. I would go to GameStop to pick up something that I pre-ordered or bought, right? And no, this wasn't me because like I got to the point when I went to GameStop. There, I was like, I'd tell them before they started. I know you have your spiel. I don't want to hear it. I'm here to pick up my shit and go. Like I know you got to do it. I don't want to hear it. I'm here to pick up my shit and go. And literally, I said that. And I normally don't curse around people I don't know. But but anyway, yeah. But I remember one time I went to GameStop. This is when they first started their program to like get cell phones and shit, trade in your cell phones at GameStop. And this lady was up there, and she was talking with the other clerk, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm trading in this phone, and you want to give me like $15 for it, but it's a $350 phone." Like we can only give you 15 for it, which they're gonna take and trade to China for like 70 or $80 and make 65, $60 profit off of the shit. That's GameStop's business model. To nickel and dime, to lowbrow you, jack up the prices, and then make money someplace else. And it's GameStop is proof positive. If you ever take a business course, GameStop is a perfect case study on how not to run your business, like expanding too quickly, shady business practices. Mm. No, it's a series of things, but the major thing that hurt GameStop, believe it or not, well, there's two things that hurt GameStop. The first thing is that they expanded way too quickly. Because here's the thing, GameStop used to be like regional; they were only in a certain region, and then they took out a huge amount of loans, and they bought all their competition. So they bought EB, other local chains in other regions, and then they expanded. Well, here's the thing though, okay? Their revenue generated the year after they did that huge acquisition and bought up all their competition, their revenue generated went up the next year. But then after that, their revenue was steadily declining, revenue generated each year after that, year over year over year. But I mean, that wasn't really, I mean, that was a problem, but they were still making money. The nail in the coffin for GameStop was when more and more games started to be sold digitally. Because basically, if you buy something digitally, you can't trade it in. Like, you can't, because what you're doing when you buy a game digitally is that you're basically buying the license to play that game digitally. You're not actually, it's not physical. It's a trademark. It's a license that's saying I can download and play this game on this system. That's what you're buying, and you can't trade it in. So people who, as digital. I mean, not just that. If you just don't feel like waiting, 3, 6, 8, 9, a year after a game comes out digitally to get it physically, and you just want to play it, then just buy it digitally. Like, I don't own Mario Odyssey physically. I got it I got it digitally because I didn't feel like going to the store and buying a fucking cartridge. I was like, because it's the same price either way. Actually, it's cheaper digitally because I didn't have to pay taxes. So, I mean, I didn't get a special deal with mine. I bought it. I pre-ordered it before it came out. I didn't get a fucking deal, but that's okay. But anyway, so $59.99, no tax, or I could go to GameStop and pay $60 plus tax. So it's like really like $66 where I live, because there's a $63. 60 yeah six, around six a little bit over $63 because where I live there's like a 6.5% tax on products, and then have someone lie to me and try to upsell me on shit that I don't want or need. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So yeah, GameStop, when digital came in and people were having less resources to trade shit in, GameStop is done. Like too many GameStops. Because I shit you not, where I live, there's like 5 GameStops. There's a GameStop in the mall. There's 2 GameStops in satellite areas to the mall, and then outside of those areas, on the edges of the area where my mall, like the major mall where I that's close to where I live, there's 2 other GameStops. So there's like 5 freaking GameStops in one area. It's ridiculous. But I mean, do I want GameStop to go out of business? No, but it's doing it one step at a time. It's going out. But I don't want to see people lose their jobs. But I mean, GameStop's been run horrifically. Uh, but speaking about news of people being run badly, basically a union wants to launch a campaign to organize video game and tech workers. Yay, nay? Good news, bad news? Fair enough. Um, I mean, the thing is like the video game industry is, it does need, like, video game developers do need a union. They definitely need a union, because yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I would say almost every industry needs a union. Every industry, like, especially when you have an industry where people are getting shafted repeatedly by upper management and the owners of said companies, like it's not okay that Well, I mean, there needs to be some union in some major national market, whether that's in Europe or here or Canada or South America or Central America. There needs to be a union for video game. Because here's the thing, okay? It's not okay that you go to EA and they have BioWare magic time where people after are forced to crunch for like 3, 6 months, a year, and then have fucking nervous breakdowns after a game is out. That's not good. Yeah, it's not good that people are, that. And here's the thing, okay? The video game industry, unlike so many other industries, like if you are a garbage worker, yeah, like your job is built on you being dependable, right? And you picking up the trash when it needs to be picked up, and not fucking up, okay? But when you're like when you make film, when you make a product, when you're making a product, the only thing that matters, like your reputation is important, you know. And when you're forced to compromise the quality of your product, and fucking up your reputation, like yeah, there's some games that have come out because the developers got a little got in over their head. But then there's some games that came out badly because the people who were writing the developers checks were like, you got to get this shit out, but it's not ready. Oh, well, you got to get it out. Doesn't matter. And then their reputation is in tatters, and then the studio gets shuttered. I won't name any names. Well, fuck it, why not? EA. EA does that all the time. you know. Activision, not so much lately, but I mean, EA is notorious for running a studio into the ground and then puts out shit with that studio to a point where they can't handle it, and then they get shuttered, like they did something wrong. It's like you forced us to do this, you know. And we got to be punished for it. It's not cool, but so yeah, basically, and I hope they succeed. Um, um, yeah, they're gonna need it because there's a lot of union blood busting. Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, they could create a union now. The problem is that, um, you know, like, I mean, I hate to say this, but people who work in the video game industry are almost like they have an almost slavish mentality to the system because it seems to them it seems to be the only way they can get their games out because they don't want to go indie because game development is really expensive and they need the resources in order to make the game. So the people who have the resources are the people who own these huge publishers. So they go to the publisher, they make a deal, they sign a deal with the devil in order to make their games. And but sometimes signing a deal with the devil isn't worth it. Yeah, it's sometimes it's not worth it. I mean, look how Microsoft fucked up so many studios that they bought. Even at this point, we're just like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not really, you know, and that's just me. Like you know, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I try to support indie developers. I mean, you can't play every indie game, but I try to support as many as I can. And why I get very worried when I hear about indie developers taking money from certain companies like Platinum with Tencent. Very worried. Um, because you keep on seeing you keep on seeing Tencent's name pop up with a lot of shit, and it's starting to get me worried. Like Tencent popping up with with Epic, well, just in gaming with Epic, even Nintendo's partnering up with Tencent to get the Switch out in Japan. I really don't trust. I really don't fucking trust Chinese businesses. Period. I don't trust Chinese businesses. I damn sure don't trust Tencent. But you know, if they want to take that risk, that's what I said. I don't trust Chinese businesses. Tencent is Chinese, but Nintendo is partnering. Nintendo is partnering with Tencent in order to release the Switch in China. You know, Tencent partnered. Tencent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very. Yeah, I mean they're turning into. Well, they're turning into a Starbucks. They're just appearing everywhere. It's like, what why are you here? Hey, man. Yeah, because remember, like, remember, like, 10, 15 years ago where Starbucks started to get big and you saw them every fucking where? It's like sometimes, if you, especially in a city, you would walk, like, you would see, well, where I live in the DC metropolitan area. So you'd go downtown and you'd go walk down 4 blocks and you'd see 2 Starbucks per block. One Starbucks on one end of the block, Starbucks on the other end of the block. Well, I mean, one Starbucks, but in DC for a long time, it was like you saw Starbucks every goddamn place. No, just tons of Starbuckses. Yeah, I mean, it's like a roach infestation. It's like you feel like you need to bring a can of spray. Starbucks, psst, get rid of this shit. It's like you can't kill it. I got this fly swatter, but it ain't doing shit. Yeah, that's what they have near where I live. Like there's a Target that's like kind of the closest Target to me. It literally is there's a Starbucks inside the Target, but then like on the outside near the Panera, like a little like mini strip mall in the same thing. There's a Panera Bread, a fitness place, a nail salon, and another Starbucks. I'm like, what the fuck, man? That's ridiculous. I mean, you've got to be cannibalizing your own sales. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's basically what's been happening to GameStop. Believe it or not, it's basically just been it's been the snake eating its own tail because there's too many GameStops. There's just too goddamn many GameStops. Um, Well, I mean, I mean, if look, I would tell anyone this, even if you don't plan on opening your own business, if you can get a chance, if they offer like just basic business classes for free, take them. Learn about how the business world works, even if you just learn just some remedial basic intro type stuff, because then you'll have a greater appreciation for when someone's trying to fuck you with with marketing, to get you to buy shit. Well, I wouldn't know about that, but you'll know when you're about to get screwed. So, speaking of knowing when you're about to get screwed, remember when Star Wars games were good? That was a really bad. That was a really bad. That was a really bad segue. I'm sorry. Like, basically, here's a little bit of history. In the early 90s, in the late 80s, early 90s, there were no new Star Wars movies coming out. So basically, George Lucas, had a lot of the expanded universe shit going out, and they started using LucasArts, the video game arm of Lucasfilm, started either directly making or letting other developers slash publisher houses make Star Wars games. And to be honest with you, some of them were absolutely terrible. Especially like the NES ones and the Game Boy ones that were based off of the JVC, the shitty Rainbow games. Yes, I said the JVC shitty games. Because I'm not finished because they got good. They got good in the 4th gen when we got Super Star Wars Trilogy on the Super Nintendo. That's right, folks. We had Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, one of the hardest games ever created, but it is damn fun. And Super Return of the Jedi. All these games are really fucking awesome. But wait, it gets better, because on PC we had some really good Star Wars games. And we also had some good Star Wars games on the Sega Genesis, like on the Sega Mega Drive you had basically... I think it was I think it was Star Wars, the arcade. It was a port of the arcade game, but it was done with really good graphics. It had the normal stuff that you have in Star Wars. I think it had like you fighting your way through an asteroid belt, the Death Star trench run, shooting down TIE fighters, that type of thing. But basically, it got good, and you had a run of really good Star Wars games on all types of media. You had Star Wars on PC with X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, Star Wars X-Wing, Star Wars TIE Fighter, Star Wars Empire at War, which was actually a MMO. It was actually pretty good. Don't get me started with the 2 KOTOR games. You had, of course, on the N64, you had Rogue Squadron. You had Pod Racer, which, I mean, some people like that game. I personally think it sucked. Not because the game itself is bad, it's just I don't really give a shit about pod racing. Once again, it's George Lucas trying to make something a thing that doesn't need to be a thing, like he did with Jar Jar Binks. Really, we're gonna make him into a thing? Come on, man. Please don't. No, really, it's gonna work. Please don't do this. You're overly enthusiastic about this, bro. But anyway, Star Wars games were good. So good, in fact, that we got the introduction of a character in Star Wars Dark Forces, Kyle Katarn, who, one of the most badass characters that Star Wars ever created. Too bad they fucked it up by turning him into a Jedi later on in later games. But before all that shit, he was just a badass former Imperial officer who defected, became a rebel, and went around just doing all types of badass shit. Took out Boba Fett, beat some Karn dragons with his bare hands. Just some awesome shit. Stole the Death Star plans. Yes. It's one of the, I mean, if you ask a hardcore Star Wars fan who played the games, like what was one of their more memorable games that didn't have like Jedis or Sith in it and just had someone being badass. And here's the thing, the great thing about Dark Forces was the atmosphere, because it had all those classic Star Wars sounds, like when you had a blaster gun, it would shoot. The walls were covered with reflective coating, so when you shot a wall, your blast would ricochet. In the sewer levels, you would be stuck with those damn sewage garbage monsters. I mean, it's just great. Had Gamorrean guards, Boba Fett, killer androids, turrets, Dark Troopers, which, okay, they kind of added that to the game. But aside from that, everything else was just badass as fuck. Just badass as fuck. Even Jabba the Hutt was in it. That fat fuck. Actually, Dark Forces takes place before the events of A New Hope, because in the original canon, before they threw it out the window because they're assholes now, Kyle Katarn stole the plans to get stole the Death Star plans, not a team. Like, there wasn't a team. It was just Cal Katarn and the lady who piloted the ship. That was it. It was just two people. And she stayed with the ship. The first level is you stealing the Death Star plans. He runs into a base, shoots the shit out of a whole bunch of stormtroopers and Imperial officers, and steals that shit and blows it up by himself. Something that took like 8-9 people in Rogue One, he does it by himself. Badass as fuck, son. Anyway, I just wanted to fan out about Star Wars Dark Forces. It's a really good game. If you guys get a chance to get it on PC, where you can, I think Good Old Games might have it. Play it. It's fucking awesome. Jedi Academy, Dark Forces 2, it kind of goes down a little bit, but And then we hit the dark years where Star Wars games got kind of shitty, in my opinion. I call it the Force Unleashed Yoda Stories years. Force Unleashed 2. And, now we're seeing a slight uptick. We got one mediocre game that wasn't the bullshit that, EA was giving us with their DICE studios. No Battlefront. No microtransactions out the wazoo. So, that's good. Those games are bad. I'm sorry. I know people are like, but I had fun with it. Look, if you have to explain something, I know it's bad, but I had fun with it, that doesn't make it good. That just means you like shitty things. It's like junk food. Just because you enjoy junk food doesn't mean it's good. It just means you enjoy bad food. So, you having explained, I know this game's shitty, but I enjoy it. Yeah, well, it's shitty. You just enjoy shitty games sometimes. Look, sometimes I enjoy watching shitty movies. Yeah. One of my favorite movies of all time is Who's Harry Crumb? It's a bad movie, but I like it. But anyway, enough about that. Anyone have anything they want to add about Star Wars games they're fond of from back in the day? Anything? Rogue Squadron 2? Oh, that's rough. Eh. Yeah, I've played those. The thing is that those games are so hard because they want to get you to spend quarters. The first level's kind of easy. Because the first level, you have to shoot down TIE fighters, but then you go to the Death Star trench run, and it's like, come on, man. Really? Really? It's classic, but it's a motherfucker to do on the arcade machine unless they put it in free play mode and you just get good. But the thing is, it only has 3 levels. There's only 3 levels to the arcade game. There's only 3. That's it. That's all you got. And it gets harder, yeah. Well, the thing is that it's designed to. Most arcade games aren't that long. They aren't that long because it's designed for you to die so that you put in more quarters so they'll make more money. It's not really designed for long. The longest arcade game I've ever played, just in terms of content, is Gauntlet Legends, and that's because you have a large amount of levels. It's not because it's long within and of itself. What, Gauntlet Legends on the arcade? I don't think we're talking the same game. When I say the Gauntlet Legends on the arcade, I mean the one that's in 3D that has the guy who talks. He's like, "Your wizard has gained a level. Your wizard is almost dead." And you can change the colors of the characters. I think it's a little bit longer than that because you have You have the mountain area. Then you have the Valkyrie's castle. Then you have the plagued town. Then you have the uh, shit. You have the ice. You have the glacier. Then you have uh, then you have the ruined cathedral, which is just one level, and then you have Scorn. Then you have the underworld where you have to fight Scorn. So yeah, it's about 5 or 6 hours if you just die a few times. How's it going, Kenoshi? We were talking about how Star Wars the arcade game only has 3 levels and it's kind of short. And I said that arcade games, by and large, are kind of short. Like the longest arcade game I've ever seen, where it just continuous, I don't mean it loops, is Gauntlet Legends, because it's kind of a pseudo RPG and it has a lot of levels with secrets and shit. But but yeah, Star Wars. I mean, the last good Star Wars game I played. When I say good, I don't mean like I don't think Fallen Jedi is a good Star Wars game. I think Fallen Jedi is a okay Star Wars game, but compared to the shit that was Battlefront 1 and 2, it's good. You know? It's like if someone busted in your house and kicked you in the nuts twice, and then that same person busted in your house and then just, slapped you, and not even a hard slap like a wimpy slap, you'd be like, "Oh, it's not that bad." That's basically Fallen Order. It's like, well, at least they didn't kick me in the nuts twice this time. I mean, that's, Fallen Order, I wouldn't say is a really good Star Wars game. It's just better than, what came before it. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't have a lot of microtransactions. It's a game that you can play from beginning to end without spending a whole bunch of extra money. The game is, I mean, the protagonist is a little fucking boring. I think they could have done better having a non-human protagonist, because frankly speaking, I'm tired of playing as a human in Star Wars games. Can we do something? I mean, can we please? I mean, you have this massive galaxy with all these different races, and you just keep on fucking having a dude or a lady. It's boring. Um, you know, yeah, give us a Star Wars movie where we can play where the main character is a fucking Zabrak, or Eonian, or a fucking Twi'lek. Shit. I'd like to see Kit Fisto's or whatever Kit Fisto's race was. Or hell, give us a spy movie where the main character is give us a movie where you've got some shit like that awesome ship to ship battle in Wrath of Khan, except you could have it be uh shit whatever Admiral Akbar's race was. One of those dudes or lady, I really don't care. But yeah, just do something different. I mean, it doesn't always have to be some person. You have this massive galaxy. Can we please move away from Tatooine? Please, please, for the love of God. And if I have to see a Jizz player one more time, and I know people are gonna make it sound like I said something bad, but literally the music that was played in the cantina in A New Hope is called Jizz. Yes, yes. Clearly they ran out of names. Yes, yeah. But that's neither here nor there. I guess we can move on to the CES news. It's not a lot of news. It's Well, I mean, we'll get more news later. There were some games that were announced around CES, but not at CES. Well, I was gonna look at the graphics cards because these graphics cards look pretty damn badass. Not gonna lie. It's their mid-range 5000 series, um, which is nice. That's true, but the reason graphics cards are important in PC gaming is because basically your graphics card offloads it's a way of offloading the processing power that your CPU or GPU or APU, depending on what type of PC you have. No, it's not it's not overheating. It's just it takes the burden off of your CPU, and it's done by your graphics card. Like it's kind of like how back in the day, before graphics cards, like everything is internalized in your graphics card. Back in the day, you had graphics cards back then too, and you could put memory on your graphics card to basically make it better at offloading shit that your CPU would have to do. And so basically, like having more memory on your graphics card, because memory was really expensive back in the day, like $1,000 for like 32 megabytes. That's right, not gigabytes, megabytes. $1,000. You were balling if you had 32 megs of memory in the early 90s. If you had a graphics card that had 32 megabytes of memory, you were shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although, I mean, the reason why people prefer having, like nowadays, if you want a game, you kind of need a decent graphics card. It's because, like I said, the graphics card offloads the burden that would be on your CPU is put on the graphics card. It does that. It does. It's the why people talk about having better memory on your graphics cards and different, like more faster, more responsive memory, because it offloads a lot of the shit that your CPU would have to do onto your graphics card, which frees up your CPU to do more shit that it would normally do anyway, which is kind of nice. Which is why it's it's kind of a nice thing that that AMD is coming out with their mid-range graphics cards, which I mean is nice, I guess. It's about time for me to upgrade anyway, so I'll just probably get something sometime in the near future. Um, but that's just me. Alienware, which is owned by Dell, came out with how can I put this nicely? A Switch fucking ripoff. Like, and here's the thing, okay? The whole point of the Switch is that it's a hybrid console, okay? It basically is a shitty home console and a better than shitty handheld. That's what the Switch is. And it does, and it delivers all of this for the price of 200, for the low price of $299, $299, $299. Okay? That's relatively cheap for what you're getting, okay? Because even back in the day, if you got a Wii U, what the Wii U when it launched was like what $299, wasn't it? $299 and the not the Wii U. The Wii U was $299. It was $299. The Wii U was $299, and the 3DS was like what $249 if I remember correctly. And then they lowered the price to $199. Yeah, but I got mine at launch. It was $249 because it was really expensive for what you got. So basically, if you, I mean, even back then, if you wanted a device that did both of those things, it was really expensive. And if you wanted those two devices separately, it was like almost $500. Well, over $500. So with taxes. So now Dell is like, well, we can wait in that thing, but you're not delivering that shit. Like, you can have the best handheld imaginable for some overly expensive price. You know, you'll have to sell your firstborn children in order to afford this. Yeah. Well, yeah, because you can't upgrade them. They have shitty memory. Even if they have like, you can't upgrade them. They're way too fucking expensive for what you're getting, and they overheat. Even like, here's the thing: even the best gaming laptop you have that has the best cooling, um, it's gonna be so big that it might as well just treat it as a desktop because you ain't putting that shit on your lap. And if you get one that isn't so huge, that's the thing. It's not portable. It's not portable. You just hit the nail right on the head. It's not portable. Like, the best gaming laptops are not portable. It isn't. It isn't. Yeah, yeah. It's built-in obsolescence. Yeah. Like, it's not modular. You can't open it up and put new memory in. You can't open it up and even clean it to keep it, in some type of optimized condition. And they get hot as fuck. So there you go. Yeah. So basically, well, I mean, gaming laptops in general are expensive. It's cheaper for you if you got a decent mid-range desktop that had specs that were similar to a gaming laptop, and then a gaming laptop. The gaming laptop will always be 30 to 50% more expensive than that desktop that you got for the same specs, because because people want that portability, and I'm like, but a gaming laptop isn't really portable because it's because it needs to be cooled. I mean, it's kind of, yeah. So AMD released new chips with 8 cores and 16 threads. So, if you want to upgrade your CPU, now's the time to do it. Not to what's coming out, but the older shit from their previous gen stuff for the Ryzen 7s. Is because they're going to be getting rid of that stuff to make room for this stuff. Um, Yeah, I'm definitely probably going to get myself. No, Trinell83 says, I think it was 350 for the Black Wii U. Yeah, you were right. You're right. I completely forgot about that one. You're right. It was 350 because that's the one I got. But yeah, it's kind of expensive. Gaming is an expensive hobby, folks. If you can't put the money down for it, then go read a book. It's cheaper. Library is free. Well, I mean, most hobbies when you first get into them are expensive, except for books, because you can go to the library. Like I said, the library is free. Um, I mean, yeah, just period. Reading is free, but but like if you want to get into what's the word I'm looking for? If you want to get into like collecting, it's expensive to get into. Unless you start in at the ground floor before something gets popular, then it's not that bad. If you want to get into gaming, if you're into PC gaming, you gotta get a decent PC to play a lot of the games. Now, if you're into like older PC gaming, a lot of that's cheaper now with DOSBox and a lot of the retro gaming PC gaming depository where you can basically play a lot of old games for free. But if you're one of those, elitists who's like, I want original hardware and original games, that's expensive. Okay, and I say this as someone who has some of them. Some of them, I mean, thank God for GOG, where they optimize a lot of those older games to run on newer hardware. Um, oh yeah, oh yeah. But thank God for them because they're doing God's work. If you want to play old shit. Well, I mean, the PC is really good for backwards compatibility. Like I can play games. Well, uh, not really. I mean, like the thing about gaming on PC is that there's ways to get these games without the GOG or whatever, Steam or whatever. The problem with gaming on PC is once you reach that DOS limit break, because the thing is like no one really uses DOS anymore. Like no one uses DOS anymore. So like games that were designed to be made to be played using DOS, you're kind of shit out of luck if it wasn't ported to DOSBox. In a lot of these older games, the source code for the games is gone, so it has to be emulated or made from scratch. So it's one of those things where that's really the issue. Or games pre-DOS, where it's like it was made using, proprietary OSs, because DOS became the standard for like 10, 15 years back during its prime. But before then, like each computer manufacturer had their own proprietary OS, their own proprietary coding for a lot of stuff. It was all based on basic, zeros and ones, but I mean binary zeros and ones. But on like the shell, the kernel for that was their own proprietary shit. So, you know, that's things are much better now. I mean, I know people get mad at Windows for standardizing shit, but if you can play all that shit and it's free. But anyway, Intel fought back against AMD stuff with their Tiger Lake stuff, which, it is what it is. And finally, Origin, which makes games, computer things, they're making a Big O box, which can basically not only is a decent PC, but also comes with PS4 and Xbox One inside. Yes, and guess what? Guess how much it'll cost you? $2,500. Yeah, man. Man, the Big O can go fuck themselves until they have a Big O. No. I mean, you would do better. You would do better buying a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X and then taking the rest of your money and building a PC, and it would probably be cheaper than this shit right here. Well, I've got a thing right here that might tell you. Let's see, I'm going to go on here. A 2020 version of their Big O PC. Okay, let me look at the specs. Will they tell me? Will they tell me what the specs are? I think you have to build it. Here, let me check. Yeah, I think you have to build it. And yeah, and the price goes up every time you know. So okay, that's just the case. Uh, so here you can get a Intel Core i5, Core i7, or Core 9 or Core i9. Um, and like the Core i5 is the base. The Core i7 is $143 more. And the Core i9 is $270. The motherboard is an Ace Rock Z390 Pro 4. Or for $63 more, you can get the MSI Z390 Gaming Edge AC. The memory is only 16 gigabytes. Peasant. Yeah, the memory is only 16 gigabytes, but really, Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to remember, there's also 16 gigabytes in the Pro and X, so you know. There's also you can also pay $90 more and get the 32 gigabytes Corsair Vengeance 300 megahertz, or you can pay $254 more and get the 64 gigabyte Corsair Vengeance 300 megahertz. So 64 gigabytes, you'll be good. Cooling. You can have liquid. You can have a liquid cooling system. Or you can pay a little bit more and get some other shit. I mean, you kind of do need cooling, but I mean, if your card, let me put it this way, unless you're putting a whole bunch of comforters on your PC tower and blocking the fans and not keeping it in a decently ventilated area, you don't need the most expensive cooler unless if you're just gaming. Now, if you're doing shit like if you're someone who works in the graphics community and you like make like CGI movies, then yeah, you're gonna need a really decent cooler. But if you're not doing shit like that, it doesn't matter. All right, and the graphics cards are kind of expensive. The most expensive one of the base one is an NVIDIA 6 gigabyte GeForce GTX 1660 Super. I know it's NVIDIA, but that's not a very good graphics card because it's only got 6 gigabytes of and I know it's NVIDIA, but it's only got 6 gigabytes of visual memory, and that's just not good. Um, the better offer here is the AMD RX 57,000 XT for $202 more. Yeah, but if you're gonna get a gaming PC, why do you just want to go with the bare minimum? Yeah, don't you want to get some bang for your buck? And check this shit out. The operating system. This is the hard drive that holds the operating system. They're only offering 1 terabyte. Well, I mean, the basis is 240 gigabytes, which is a fucking joke. It's an MP510. It's solid state, but 240 gigabytes, even with solid state, isn't that good. Yeah, but that's still not a very good. I mean, yes, it's a solid state. Let me check. Let me check. Okay, there's no store for storage drive is more expensive. That's not selected. Yeah. Look, man. I'm looking at the customized thing. I'm not gonna buy this shit because they don't show the specs. See, you got to dig into the stuff and see how they're fucking you before you just you know. And it only has 2 USB ports. Man, this is so stupid. I've got more USB ports on my PC than this shit. I can plug so much extra shit in here, it's not even funny. Wow. This is some bullshit, man. Audio devices, external devices. This is bad. This is so bad. Peripherals. This is my God. And they're selling. Hey man, but you spend $15, you get a PC beanie from Origin. This is stupid. This, folks, is why people laugh at PC gamers because of shit like this. Although I don't know any PC gamer who would buy this. Like most self-respecting PC gamers I know would rather build their own shit and then brag about how cheap how much money they save by building their own shit for much lower price. No. And it's not even worth buying because the new consoles are coming out this year. So as soon as you, not only as soon as you bought this, your shit would be obsolete by the end of the year. I mean, that is, man, you, god damn, that's stupid. But anyway, let's get on with these news. Razer Kishi takes a bite out of Jungle Cat. So another Nintendo Switch-like device, but it's with your smartphone. You can turn your smartphone into a gaming handheld. I don't know, man. It looks kind of stupid. Here, I'll put a link in the description. I mean, in the chat. It looks kind of like, really. If I saw someone gaming on that, I would laugh at them and probably pick on them a little bit because it looks really stupid. Like, why don't you just get a Switch? I mean, personally, I think the Switch sucks as a handheld, but I mean, you just better just get the Switch, or why don't you go spend $50 and go get a Vita? You'll be much happier. Man, because some people don't want to buy a Switch because they don't want to play that kitty ass shit. I'm being facetious, but that's what they say. So they would rather take their cell phone and carry some fucking joysticks with them in their pocket or their wallet or their girlfriend's or their girl's purse and say, "Hey, honey, can I get my joysticks?" I mean, this is so stupid. This is dumb. Yeah, it's just. I mean, who's carrying around all that shit? It's just so stupid. It's just so. Like, sometimes I see stuff come out and I'm just like, this is dumb. This is fucking dumb. This is dumb. This is dumb. I keep on repeating this is dumb, but it is dumb. And I can't stop talking about how dumb this shit is. It's dumb. Um, yeah, yeah. Like, look. I'm gonna break something down for people. Why don't you just fucking buy a video game system? That's it. Yeah, but not a cell phone that's big and bad enough. No, but the thing is like a cell phone that is like, here's the thing: your cell phone, in order for you to play some of the cell phone games that people are like, yeah, you can play this on your cell phone. You need a cell phone that is well above, more powerful than what anyone would need in order to own a cell phone, right? Like, because let's keep it real. Most of us use our cell phones to make phone calls, to receive phone calls, to watch YouTube videos, to maybe play a few mobile games just as time wasters. Because I'm not bringing my Switch around where someone can steal my 399 Switch. I mean, my 299 Switch. Fuck that. Uh, so, if I want to kill like 5 minutes, I'll play like mini dungeon for like 2 or 3 minutes while I wait for my order or some shit, or I'll check my emails or some shit. But anyway, believe it or not, FTC just fucked up YouTube. I don't get what you're. Oh, you mean with Copa? Yeah. I have a Switch for SNK Heroines. Jorge Zaldivar said that, and he said he was watching a Twitch live stream, and Kaito Soranaka, the director of SNK Heroines, said that the game is still open for DLC. Well, if I gave a shit about SNK Heroines, I would be all a quiver. But since I don't, good for you, dude. I mean, I'm happy. Look, man, I'm happy for you. I'm happy you enjoy SNK Heroines. Me, I don't really feel comfortable perving out on a female version of Terry Bogard because it's just a female version of Terry Bogard. So they say it could be Terry Bogard who's under the operation to become. He's transitioning from a man to a woman, but he hasn't had the final operation to seal the deal yet. So, you know, I personally am not really that into female versions of male characters. It's just kind of creepy to me. But you know, to each his own. Let's see. So I think we've covered all the CES stuff. So I guess we can finish it up with this last little bit of news. Nintendo has represented 80% of the console market in Japan in 2019. Well, I mean, to be fair, there's really like okay, in Japan, there's no like the thing is that the Switch is a hybrid console. Depending on what your lifestyle is, you'll probably use it more as a handheld or more as a home console, depending on what your life cycle is, like what your lifestyle is. So for the Japanese who are really into that on the go lifestyle where they're like on a train and shit and on a bus and mass transit and all that type of stuff, the Switch as a handheld just feels that niche that was vacated by the Vita. So to say that it took 80% of the console market in Japan, I'm like, really, it just filled that niche that Vita market that they really love over there. That 3DS Vita market that was huge anyway. Because I mean, because no one really wants to game on a smartphone. Like seriously game on a smartphone, they don't want to do that. This lets you seriously game on the go. Uh, 83% of the console market in Japan. Whoa. Well, it's not 83%. It's 80%. It was 76% of that was the Switch. So that means the other 4% was probably people gaming on 3DSs and Vitas. You know, those people who are left gaming on 3DSs and Vitas. I mean, I don't know who those people are, but it could be there. So, anyone have any topics they want to bring up in the last 10 minutes before we wrap things up? Oh, yeah. A modular PC, you say? A modular PC. Here, let me take a look at that. Yeah, I actually like the idea of a modular PC where you don't have to open shit up and like, you know, um, yeah, you just slot things in, slot things out. I like that. Um, the only downside is that it's probably really fucking expensive. Yeah, that's the flaw of oh, this is really cool. Unfortunately, it's also really fucking expensive. You would want it to be. Well, because it's not a desktop motherboard. I mean, because this thing's gonna be all about modular ability. So, I mean, how can I put this? I think the perfect console would have a modular component to it where you could basically add stuff to upgrade it over time. But the problem is that no one wants to spend that type of money on a console. Like people just want to buy a console and have it for 5, 6, 7 years and then upgrade after a while. People don't want to spend, $300, $400, $500 and then down the line have to spend more money on shit. People don't want to do that shit. Yeah, but the expansion pack came with games. You didn't have to buy the expansion pack by itself in order to play those games because most of the games that required the expansion pack came with the expansion pack. It's like the Super Scope. Yeah, the Super Scope was kind of expensive, but it came with a game. You know, like Wii Motion Plus came with a lot of games. You know, like that's how I got my Wii Motion Plus by getting Red Steel 2 because it came with it. Because I was like, I'm not gonna spend. I think when Wii Motion Plus came out, the actual thing itself initially was like $30. I wasn't spending $30 for that when I could get it for free with a game. And Red Steel 2 is actually a pretty good game, so it was totally worth it. Um, it basically, yeah. It like okay. Here's the thing: the one game that it really was used for was Perfect Dark. Was Perfect Dark. Well, DK64, but it really needed to be done for Perfect Dark because there was this one part of the game where if you played it without the expansion cart, the game would crash like every time, and then they added the expansion cart and it didn't, so that's why you needed it. But really, if you went back and played certain games with the expansion cart, that expanded memory like made the games a little bit smoother. It made the polygons look less polygonal. It made smoothed out shit, made it look a little bit better. Um, especially for certain games like Rogue Squadron looked a lot better with the expansion cart than it did without the expansion cart. Um, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't let you. You could like soft hack the game to do it. But the thing is, like I said, there was a point in that game where it would crash if you didn't. So you know, but still, it came like Majora's Mask came with the expansion card. Donkey Kong 64 came with the expansion card. Rogue Squadron didn't because Rogue Squadron was one of the launch games for the N64, but not initial launch, but like that first year. But it was backwards compatible with it. I mean, forwards compatible with it. Like if you put Rogue Squadron in Wave Race, if you put it in with the expansion card, the waves looked better. The physics were a little bit smoother, that type of thing. Plus, Wave Race is just a really good game. Nintendo, release another Wave Race, damn it. You mean Super Mario 64? I mean, I guess. I mean, Super Mario 64 by itself is like that game really holds up. Not the levels where you go inside the paintings. Not all the levels when you go inside the paintings, especially Bowser's world. Those worlds are basic as fuck. But like Princess Peach's castle, especially the outside, still looks pretty good. Um, Baba on Battlefield still looks pretty good. The snow level looks pretty good. The first snow level where you like have to race that fat ass penguin the first time, and then the second time he gets skinny. That motherfucker. Uh, the desert. I mean, like Mario 64 kind of set the standard for 3D platformers, and we haven't really gone beyond it since, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's cool that Nintendo was able to be that far ahead of the game, but it sucks because like we still have to fight against the camera, really. Like Mario Odyssey is a great game, but the greatest enemy in that game isn't Bowser. It isn't those damn rabbits. It's not the Goombas. It's not the Thwomps. It's not the Thwimps. It's that fucking camera. That camera is just ridiculous. But it is what it is. So anyone have anything they want to pimp out before we wrap things up? We didn't get to the fun topics of how to bring certain games back, but I guess we can move that to Saturday's cast. Um, I think it ends tomorrow or maybe Friday. I know it's like 4 or 5 days. It's kind of like it's become like E3. Like CES used to be about TVs and refrigerators and shit like that, and now it's mostly about. Well, it's there's still a lot of shit about TVs, but it's the technology. There's some stuff we didn't talk about, like the sex toys that the better sex toys they showed off, but I'm not going to talk about that because you know this is a gaming channel. This is a gaming channel. We're not talking about that. Yeah, that'll be for the aftercast. So with that being said, anything you guys want to pimp out? Anything you guys working on that you want to show off, talk about, all that fun stuff? Yes, it is, but it is so the jumping has gotten so much better. And the fog isn't as bad as it was in that first one, where they're like, "Oh, it can't render that far ahead. Fuck it." eh, that's yeah, that's your opinion. I personally like the more weighty feel. It wasn't as floaty because it actually felt like you had weight when you moved around. But you know, do whatever you want to do. It's your business. Yeah, well, there you go. But that's neither here nor there. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters, joined by my yes, and joined by the usual suspects here, Jewel, Kenoshi, Pinky, and I'm glad you guys could join me for another BS Busters Funcast. The newscast will be at the end of this week, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, this is a shameless plug, not for me, but for Shadow Fox Infinite. I know he changed his name to something else, but I'll always call him Shadow Fox Infinite. No, I was gonna say he's having a shadow infernal. He's having a shadow cast at 9:30. So yeah. Eh, here, I'll look it up on Twitter. It's something. It's different. It's not what it used to be. It's something else. Here, I'll look it up because it's like people change their names all the time. I call them what they used to be called. I don't be. Sha- it's still Shadow Fox Infinite. No, it's Shadow Fox Infinite or Shadow Fox Arch. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But anyway, um, that's how I feel. That's the end of the podcast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. Um, what else? So there you go. I don't know about you guys. I don't play games to have fun. I play games to impress other people. That's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace. Good night. Arrivederci. Yeah, like she said, hype responsibly. And let's see. I'm not gonna hand out any FUs tonight. I'll save those for Saturday. Good night.